Hello there, welcome to our channel, Why Not Now? I'm Lisa Marie, as you know, and this is my amazingly handsome husband, Steven.
Hola.
So what are we doing today? Today we are, of course, where we live, in the beautiful city of Aguascalientes, Mexico. So we've been living here now for, I want to say, about a month and a half. As you all know, you've been following us. You followed us on our journey through Santiago de Querétaro, Mexico. We lived in Querétaro for a little over a year. You know that we tried to move to Oaxaca City. That didn't work. Check out the Oaxaca series as to find out why, and check out some of the neighborhood tours that we did there. We also went to Mazatlan, beautiful Sinaloa state in Mexico, and considered living there, but gave you some good tips, gave you some good information, and I think that will help you all have, you know, a better footing in the rental market there if you go ahead and check out that video series and learn about what our experience and what our perspective was on living in Mazatlan. But here we are in Aguascalientes. We are here to stay at least for a minimum of a year in beautiful Aguascalientes, and we are looking forward to learning all about this beautiful city. But right now, where are we? We are in the barrio of Guadalupe, beautiful barrio, local area, showing you all a little bit around. Hold that thought. Have a big truck passing by. And not only are we going to show you a bit around, but most importantly, we are going to talk about, we're going to hit 5 points today. 5 points. We've gotten this question before, not only from people that we are close to, but now from our viewers, asking us, do you see yourselves moving back to the United States? Would you ever do it in the future? Now, obviously, we know that, you know, we have no control over life. Things happen. But as far as, are we planning on living there? Do we want to go back to the United States? No. The short answer is no. And we're going to talk about 5 points as to why we wouldn't see ourselves going back to live in the United States. Now, as far as living in another country in the future, you never know. We recently did a video called, it's actually, we were addressing the panic in Mexico about tourist visas, about, you know, the Mexican temporary residency, why things have gone up and it's causing a lot of panic. And we talked about where that panic is coming from, where we think it's coming from, you can't control the outside elements. You know, people say, hey, we'd like for you to do some videos on a quieter location. But then some people say, hey, we want to see outside. We try to give you a blend of both. As you can see, we are outside. We cannot control the elements. So 5 points. Let's get started. We'll show you a little bit around beautiful Guadalupe, and then let's chat.
All right, let's go, guys. All right, as my wife was mentioning, we over here in barrio of Guadalupe, which is a beautiful area over here in Aguascalientes.
And it looks like we're coming up a little alley side street called Privada Arellano, if I'm saying it correct. And we're coming down some of the cuts and kind of going through and figuring out our way, because we know some of our viewers said, you know, we love to see, you know, you guys film outside, and we want to see what, you know, Aguascalientes looks like. We want to show you, but at the same time, you have to understand there's a lot of outside noise elements that we have no control of. So we try to occasionally cut down some side streets so we can get a little bit of quiet, and then show you some of the neighborhood as well.
Yeah, and I like that over here. I'm going to turn around and show you real quick. You see the alleys? There's a lot of alleys down here in Aguascalientes that I've been noticing. And then you see on the doors, Guadalupe and a cross. That's a common, typical thing you're going to see over here in this barrio. All right, so
Point number
one. Will we ever go back to the United States?
Short answer.
No. The reason being, I personally feel safer over here. We feel safer over here in Mexico than we are feeling over in the United States. Be all honest to God truth, you know. For example, we were out the other night taking the dogs out around like 10 o'clock, and we just saw the police come whipping up on the motorcycles and being conditioned. I can't speak for everybody else, but in the neighborhoods we lived, in the areas that we were in, kind of in the states in general, you know, you see the police whip up on a motorcycle, lights flashing, horns blaring and stuff. So I'm thinking like, oh, what's going on? You know, someone's on the sidewalk, or some bad happening.
That a crime was committed. Or
yeah, something bad was happening. And then come to find out, I just hear some music playing, and then I just see a bunch of like neon lights, and I just hear a crowd of people coming. I kid you not. It was like 200 or 300 bikes, and the first wave was like rollerbladers. Mm-hmm. They were on the rollerblades coming through, and then we had seen like 200 or 300 bikes, all ages. Everybody was just out enjoying themselves, riding the bikes, and they do that I say like, we've seen them gather over here before.
Like
over
once
there.
a week, I think.
Yeah, we've seen them gather over here before. Over here.
But you made a good point. You think it had to do with Women's Day?
I think it had to do with Women's Day. That particular time, I think it was more of a gathering due to the Women's Day. But we've seen that a lot over here, where the bicyclists take over the street and the police block off the streets and make sure they get through safely. Safely, meaning that nothing happens, and that's something that's honestly very cool to me. You know, you don't see that often. Well, I didn't see that often in the United States.
I mean, it was really lovely to see that, and it just shows you how, you know, we were raised in environments. Of course, we've told you before, we lived in all kinds of areas, from bad areas to middle, you know, and to nice areas. You know, we've been through it all.
Yeah.
We're very well-rounded, you know, people. I will just tell you that. And you know, I didn't say it to him, but I thought to myself, gosh, you know, what happened? And, you know, when we got upstairs to the apartment, we were talking about it. I said, you know, I was actually thinking something bad happened.
Yeah.
And then when all these bikers came through and I saw how there was a police car leading them so nobody can get in the way. It was a little after 10, actually. There was a police car at the very end of the line, which it took about 20 solid minutes, where all traffic had to be stopped. It wasn't like a major big street, it was just regular street. And they all stopped to let everybody through, and you had to wait. And I loved it. I just absolutely loved it.
It almost brought me to tears. You know,
so safety.
Safety.
And you know, let's be honest. We say this all the time. We tell you crime exists everywhere in the world. Bad things happen everywhere. And I'm bringing this up because some of our viewers even said, you know, oh gosh, you guys are, you know, aren't you in Aguascalientes? Didn't they have a situation? They were talking about Zacatecas, where, you know, there was an issue with the cartel, and there were some hangings that had happened. And was it a beheading?
Just hangings on the bridge. On bridge.
So people got hung,
Yeah.
and there was a bunch of murders, and it's like these things happen everywhere. These things happen in our own backyard in the United States, in Estados Unidos, right? You see it. I mean, let's be honest. We have church shootings, we have school shootings, we have, you know, drug trafficking, we have gang violence. There's so many things. I can go on and on and on. I say that just to say that these things happen everywhere in the world, okay? And quite honestly, we felt safer living in Mexico, and we visited multiple. I mean, if you see our Mexico travel playlist, we visited multiple towns, multiple cities in Mexico, and honestly felt completely fine.
Yeah, I haven't felt I haven't been scared or feeling like any type of way in any city that we've gone to over here. We've gone to Puebla, of course, we're down in Oaxaca, Guanajuato, Mazatlan. We were all over,
Yeah.
and of course of course, we were talking about this situation in Leon, Guanajuato, but there's never been a point where we were walking around like, are we in danger? Are we scared for our life? Not at all.
Yeah, we actually made a video with that as a thumbnail, and we did a couple of videos in Leon, Guanajuato. But if you check the one that says, were we in danger? If you watch the video, the point was, even though something happened, there was a major incident that happened there, we still went to the city, we still felt completely fine, we still walked through it, had a great time, great people, you know, crime happens everywhere, just like there's gang violence over there, and there's cartels in the United States, there are bad situations everywhere. You just have to be mindful and pay attention wherever you go in the world. It doesn't matter. So safety. Anything else you could add under the category of safety?
There's a lot of things I can add, but I just want to keep it like the short answer of, you know, everything, and all I can say is just keep your head on swivel everywhere you go, because how we feel, you may feel different, you know. Right. So you may be scared in Santiago de Querétaro. And I just feel like,
okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because everybody had a different environment, but the point is to say that for us personally, you know,
we feel
the media, we felt like fed us a lot of negativity about Mexico, and then when we came here and we've been throughout, yes, there are times when you feel like, okay, be careful, pay attention to this neighborhood. Sure, that happens anywhere, but overall, like, we've been good.
Yep. So that's what number one, safety. So we're gonna continue walking around, and we're gonna come back to you guys with number two. Yep. All right, we walked over here towards the Jardín de Guadalupe, so Guadalupe Garden. And so we're gonna get to number 2 point. The number 2 point would be quality of life. Quality of life, meaning that we just feel less stress. It just feels so much better for us being over this way. It's just because in the United States everything is like this go 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 mentality, and over here everything is very tranquil.
Yeah, everything's muy tranquilo. It's definitely a slower pace of life, and the Mexican culture, the Mexican people definitely put an emphasis on just kind of everything's just chill, not to try not to get too stressed about things that are not in your control. For those of you who don't know, I'll kind of let you in a little bit and share something very personal. And I'm only sharing this because for those of you who are maybe struggling with this, I want you to know that it is possible to feel better. When I lived in the United States, actually for many, many years, I struggled with anxiety, and for those of you who know what that is like, and for those of you who know what that is like, whether you have depression, anxiety, or panic attacks, that can be very debilitating. And I had a very high stress job. I worked in the healthcare pharmaceutical industry for like 15 years of my life, more or less. And I had to walk away from a major corporation, a job that required me to do quite a bit of traveling. I did a lot of, meeting with high, hospital figures and people in hospice, and just all different kinds of the healthcare industry and pharmaceuticals. And it got to a point where I just decided that I kind of felt I wasn't living the life that I was meant to live. And not to say that life doesn't come with stress and hurdles. It will absolutely. Even here in Mexico, you will bring, those things with you. You have to learn how to separate and balance. But I will say our quality of life for both of us, our mental health has been a lot better since we've moved to Mexico, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Like I was to reiterate saying, in the United States, it's all about the American dream. Is about going to a job, getting the money, getting the house, getting the cars, getting the phones, putting your kids in soccer practice and baseball. All this stuff is going on, and it's like you don't have any time for family. And that's one thing I feel that's so stressful over there. Of you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they would say, And over here, they don't. It's not like that over here. They're all about family, and they're all about just spending time.
All right, so moving on to number 3.
Yep.
Point number 3 is housing or overhead cost affordability. And we say this, very, very humbly, with humility, because we know, we say it all the time. We don't use a C word here. Our viewers know what the C word is. We know that having foreign currency gives us the opportunity to have our money stretch a little bit further here, which is, we're very grateful for that. But we come from humble beginnings. We've had, nothing. We've had some things, and we've, through hard work, we bought, homes and in the United States and things of that nature. So we did own homes in the past. We sold them. We had in Georgia a home. We had, in Boise, Idaho, we had 2 homes, but we sold them. So we come from humble beginnings. We know what it's like to have and not to have. Okay, so with that being said, we know that, we are grateful for having our currency here. And we are very wise with our spending. We always educate ourselves on what the local pricing should be, and we recommend that you do the same, so you are limiting the foreigner tax that you're paying here. But definitely overhead costs is much more affordable for us. Rental prices, things of that nature. So we do, take that with gratitude, and keeping in mind that not everyone here in Mexico, the locals here, there are a lot of people who are still making the minimum wage, which is less than 200 pesos per day. If you think about that, that is mind-blowing, and there are people that still have hardships. So we keep that in mind, and we pretty much will be very frugal with our spending, knowing that we're blessed to be able to come here and our dollar goes a little bit further.
Yeah, like my wife was saying, we're very fortunate to have U.S. currency, and that's another thing that make us feel like it's better for us, and that leads to less stress. That just leads to being able to spend more time, and that's the reason why people from the United States or from Canada or from wherever whatever country you come down to Mexico, or you would go to a Thailand, or you go to these places, these countries, you go there because of your currency can stretch further,
right?
Meaning that you're not trying to go there and live this luxury life, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that we're never going to try to do, live this luxury life. You're never going to see it on our channel saying this is how the luxury live and all this. We're never going to do that. We come over here because we're very humble, we're very frugal, and we had done 2 cost of living videos, and both of them, if you go back and look at them, we didn't go over $1,200 a month USD. So we're trying to continue to bring that down lower.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be able to do it. I know we're going to be able to do it. So that's our whole point of coming over here, to live real relaxed, real tranquil, and that'll lower your stress. So
yeah, to have more time to spend together and to do the work that we really care about, which is this creative work of helping people transition, to life in Mexico, to wanting to live in Mexico, and showing them how they can become residents of Mexico and become part of the community. So that's what is really important to us. So
yeah, that's point number 3. We're gonna keep on walking and get to point number 4. I'm gonna flip it around real quick, show you a little bit.
So a little bit around
We're over here in the barrio of Guadalupe, as I was mentioned earlier.
It's very chill right now. It's actually evening time, and it's weekday. But another one, point number 4 is loving the culture, la cultura.
Speaking of which, check this guy right here. But yeah, just loving the culture over here.
The people, the values, the country, all of that.
Everybody that we've met over here, they've just been very friendly, been very helpful, been very welcoming. The faces that we get, my wife gonna kill me for it.
What?
the ugly faces that we get, and I say that
we've gotten on rare. Okay, I want to be. It was rare.
Yeah,
but
rare.
It has happened.
It comes from they're from
our native country.
Our native country. You know, they look like, what are you doing here? What's going on? And it's like, come on, man. Like, let's come on. We're down in Mexico. Do not bring that type of mentality down here, But yeah, the culture over here. We love the culture, meaning that I can walk up the street, get a gordita, get a taco, get pozole, get whatever I want, and they are more than patient with you, showing you and letting you taste whatever you want to taste.
We're going to tell my husband to stop here because I can hear some of the more busy street noise coming down, and we're trying to minimize the noise. So we'll stop here for a second. No, we're stopping here.
Okay.
Don't cut the camera.
So I lost what I was talking about. Oh, they're patient with you, and they allow you to sample food and all that stuff. Like we can go to street carts and get food for 10, 15 pesos, and that's what I like.
And people are proud to share their culture with you, Here, the Mexican culture, they're really proud. And, you see it like when we go to some of the different squares or parks. And this is not only here in Aguascalientes, but in Querétaro, where we lived, in different areas, that at night, people are dancing. So, like, older couples, like in their 60s and 70s, they're dancing out there, having a good old time, and kids are running and playing, and people watching. There's nothing, you don't have to spend all this money and focus on doing all these things. You just have to enjoy life with your family. The values of the Mexican people, whether you believe in God or not, is besides the point. But what I will say is, here in Mexico, what I saw immediately, which I loved, was that the people put God and family first. So everything else is secondary to that. And back in the United States, it always felt like making money came first. Yeah. And it just, it's a difficult life. It's a different society. It's a different country, and we understand that. We understand both sides from living in the United States, the pressure that we have, to succeed and to make money and to advance in status and to, have a house and all of these things. But when you accomplish all those things, you realize you're still not happy, and there's still something missing for a lot of people anyway. Some people are fine with that life. For us in particular, we weren't happy, but we weren't feeling fulfilled. No. Within our heart. And we just realized that no matter how much we made or how much we climbed the corporate ladder and did our best to move up, we still didn't have enough time together. And for those of you who know, when we first started doing YouTube, which was like a year ago, if you go back to our first videos, we talked about this. And I can pin this video below in the comment section as well as the description. But we talked about this. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer. He barely made 60 years old, and he battled for 4 years with pancreatic cancer. And I saw him living a miserable life. He was, when he passed away, he was really angry. He was bitter. And he worked really hard as an Italian immigrant, coming to the United States and doing all the things you think one would do, working 7 days a week. And at the end of the day, he saved and he did whatever he could do, but it didn't matter. His health, he was so stressed out. And I'm a firm believer that stress can make you physically ill. That's why I mentioned earlier about mental health. There's a stigma behind mental health. But we need to talk about these things. It's really, really important. We need to have good quality of life. And all of these things we're mentioning, at the end of the day, rounds off to having a good quality of life. And you have to try your best to make decisions. And sometimes it's hard. And we had to sacrifice. We had to leave our home country and go into unfamiliar territory. But we don't regret it one bit.
No, we don't regret it one bit. And I lost my father as well.
Recently, actually.
It was a tough decision, to be honest with you. I had just moved down here to Mexico because we had done the FMM paperwork.
We did the residency. Mm-hmm.
So we had to get down. Once you come down, you have 30 days. And that was a tough decision. And I ended up talking to him before he had passed, But that was a tough decision. So time I arrived in Querétaro, I had to leave Querétaro. And that's something that we had to force the paperwork and get our residence and everything like that. And that's just a tough decision. And I'm saying that to say this, like what my wife was saying. I've seen my father bust his butt his whole life. I've seen my mother bust her butt her whole life. And it's like you wait until this retirement. And then it's like, are you truly happy with the retirement? Because they're not going to give you all the money that honestly, what you earned or what you're supposed to have. The cost of living, it just doesn't add up to me. Yeah, so
that's so true, because we talk about this, and we're bringing you into our private conversations or our dinner conversations. We talk about this all the time when we say it's so unfair that someone has to try to work as late as possible into their 70s, and then they still barely make $1,500, and it's not their fault that maybe they lived in a town or a city, or maybe they had a particular job that wasn't as high paying as other jobs, and now their Social Security, their monthly income isn't enough, but everything keeps going up. And you know what? It will never, the wages or the Social Security will never match up to what the cost of living is. And I think that's very unfair to not only to our elderly, but even to our servicemen, people who have been in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, all of the different branches, okay? I mean, what are we doing with our people? So why are they struggling? Why do we have to have all these organizations to help them? We need to take care of our people. And it's sad that for affordability, it comes to a point where people have to decide to leave their native country, and it's okay if you want to do that, but sometimes in some situations people can't live, and they're living in poverty even in their own home country and struggling with healthcare, amongst many other things.
Yeah, and if I jump in real quick, we're going to get off this topic. Just like the situation in Florida that's going on right now. The rents rising up so high that people can't afford to stay there. People are sleeping on empty plots just so they can get a spot to build a house. It's just ridiculous how prices are going up over there. Inflation, and so that goes back to our other video about panic in Mexico, how we were just talking about. Don't come down here with that mindset of, well, it only costs X amount of dollars in the States, so down here is the C word.
Yeah, you know what the C word is.
Yeah, don't do that. But yeah,
don't say the C word. It isn't. It's just, you're in a different city, you're in a different country, the wages are different, and you're blessed. If you didn't have that foreign currency and you were making pesos,
let's see how you talk now.
You wouldn't be saying what you're saying. You wouldn't be saying it's cheap, okay? I hate saying that word. You wouldn't say that, so keep that in mind.
Yep. So, all right. On to the number
5, the last one. We're gonna just keep walking straight on down.
All right.
It's gonna be, honestly, Mexico has everything we need. We don't lack anything in Mexico. From, if you want to be entertained, if you want to, have health care, all of these things. We can talk to you about these things. We don't lack anything. I mean, they have malls. I mean, we're not big mall goers, but we have done some videos. In Querétaro, we showed you the inside of malls, even though we were taking a risk because we weren't supposed to be filming. But we've taken you in places like that to show you. There's nothing different. And in some cases, I'll be honest with you, the malls, certain things that I see in Mexico are better, look better, more well taken care of than some of the states and cities I've seen in the U.S.
They are better.
Sorry,
they do look better.
It.
As far as food, we don't miss any particular thing from the states. That's food. Clothing, you get the same type of clothing. I shouldn't even say the same type of clothing. You have the same everything.
Access to everything you want.
Access to everything, yeah.
Culture, if you love museums, oh my goodness. I mean, especially the colonial highland cities we've been to, the museums, there's tons of museums. I mean, there's always something going on in the squares. They will go ahead and, like where we are now in Aguascalientes, when we do have a chance to get down to the barrio of San Marcos or Jardín de San Marcos, they do food carts out there. It's incredibly beautiful. They have music playing. It's so peaceful. Children are having a good time. People out there until late at night. It's safe.
Yeah. It's very safe over here. So, yeah, there's really not anything that we're lacking or missing over being over Mexico. So that's another thing is like people ask you, do you miss this or do you miss that in the United States? No, not really. Family, that's it.
So that pretty much sums up our 5 points right now anyway. Again, as we mentioned, we have no control over life or life circumstances, but as of right now, given the situation, we are trying to stay living in Mexico. We talked a little bit about our if we had situations where we had to consider leaving Mexico, we wouldn't go back to the United States, we would go to another country because there is pricing going up here in Mexico. So because of that, of course, you have to always evaluate your situation. But we talked about that in our Panic in Mexico video, which will be linked in the comment section below, as well as some of the other conversations we've had in the past about our Straight Talk Mexico video, where we kind of hinted, we saw the route that Querétaro was going. And although Querétaro is still a beautiful city, it has gotten a lot of influx of expats due to some type of exposure on social media. I should say, it's good to share, something amazing with others, but you have a responsibility when you do share it, and you need to, not exploit it. There's a difference between exposing and sharing and exploitation, and we talked about that a little bit in that Straight Talk video as well. So I'll put that below. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's why we wouldn't go back to the United States. We don't plan on it. So
that's right. So we'll end it as we always do. Live the life that you were meant to live. Keep a grateful heart, most important.
And remember, why not now? All right, guys. Peace.